After the Red Sox went to a position player to pitch on Monday, it begs the question, should they move Tanner Houck to the bullpen?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. It's a late one today, but before we get started, be sure to download the Gametime app and create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I am your host, NESN's Lauren Willand, and the Red Sox did not start their week on a high note. Their losing streak continued. They lost 10-1 to the Seattle Mariners. Not the best way to start a new series. And that's obviously not how you want to start any series. You've lost the last three. You just got swept by the Cardinals. You want to bounce back, and they just unfortunately couldn't. And Tanner Houck did have some issues the second time through the Mariners order. He wasn't the only problem. The offense did go ice cold. What a time for the offense to just disappear. I think they've been outscored 19-2 in their last two games. They lost 10-1 on Monday. So just not a good time for this team to just kind of fall off the same page that they seem to be on the last few weeks of the season. So Houck got the start on Monday, and he looked really good to start. He retired the first 11 batters. He looked in control, and he looked like he was going to turn in a solid start. And as we've seen so many times throughout his career, he just could not find a groove when the second and third time through the order came about. He's always very good in that first time through, but the second time through, the opponents start to figure him out, and he gets hit around, they score runs, and that's exactly what the Mariners did. So you take a look at Tanner Houck's stats in 2023. The first time through the order, he's pitched 19 2/3 innings. He has a .92 ERA. Then the second time through the order, he's pitched 15 innings, so just a few innings less, but he has a 5.40 ERA. That's pretty significant. And with the bullpen being even more limited between the Ryan Brazier DFA and the John Schreiber injury, which we'll talk about later on in the show, it makes you question, even though Tanner Houck was not the sole issue of Monday's game, would he be better served in the bullpen? Because if he's dominant, .92 ERA through the first time through the lineup, would he be better off as a setup guy? We think maybe he could be a closer. I know my husband is big on Tanner Houck could be an elite closer, but that's tough to do right now with Kenley Jansen as your closer. Tanner Houck in the bullpen, I think, makes a lot of sense right now. And people have made the argument that even with those splits, he's still better than Nick Pivetta and Corey Kluber. But Houck's issues don't have anything to do with Pivetta or Kluber. I think it speaks more to the quality of this rotation than it does Houck, Kluber, and Pivetta. But what we do know, and what we can confirm, is that Houck has been a solid reliever. We've seen him in this role. We've seen him thrive as a reliever. Pivetta was fine in the 2021 postseason, but do you really trust him out of the bullpen when he's giving up runs in the first inning? So would you rather 4 runs in the first or 4 runs in the fourth? And I'm saying that as the Red Sox are playing right now, and I am recording as the game is going on, and Nick Pivetta looks like somebody who's trying to redeem himself. But we could say the same thing about Kluber. We just don't know what he would give you out of the pen, where Tanner Houck is more of a sure thing. And there's no guaranteed sure things in baseball in anything. But when Houck has excelled in that role before, and you have limited arms in that bullpen that I feel like you can trust, and yes, they are going to get healthier with Cutter Crawford coming back, I feel like I'd rather see Tanner Houck go to the bullpen when Cutter Crawford comes back, when Garrett Whitlock comes back, than have Caleb Ort back on this team. But Alex Cora does have a lot of decisions to make, and especially now with John Schreiber going on the injured list with the lat issue, he was reliable for you, and now that needs to be replaced until he's ready to come back, and that could be a matter of weeks. He came out of the game on Monday early. He comes on to flex his arm, and immediately after the game, Alex Cora was like, this is probably going to be an IL stint, and lo and behold, it was. He's dealing with a lat issue that's really unfortunate for the Sox pen, because he was a stable arm for you in that role. and now you're down an arm after you DFA Brazier, which that's not a make or break for this team. This isn't something like, oh, I can't believe they DFA'd Brazier and now we don't have him. And that's not a problem for the Red Sox. It's just now you're down 2 arms when you thought you'd be down 1. But as I mentioned, Cutter Crawford is on his way back from the IL. He should be activated by Friday. Garrett Whitlock is pitching in Worcester on Tuesday. So there's going to be decisions to make. And Cora mentioned pregame Tuesday that he knows he has to make decisions. And he wouldn't, he's not going to come out and say like, oh yeah, after today, Pivetta is going to go to the bullpen. He's not going to come out and say that. But I do think that pretty soon, the next few days, we're going to see where these guys are going to end up. Does Kluber get another start? Will Pivetta do enough on Tuesday to keep himself in the rotation? Are they going to look at Tanner Houck and look at those numbers, those splits, and be like, okay, we need to use you in a better role and we need to set you up for more success because you're better used as a reliever than a starter? I don't know, but I do think we're going to have those answers fairly soon. But just because I'm saying Tanner Houck to the bullpen over Pivetta or Kluber does not mean I love Pivetta and Kluber in this rotation. There's no denying that they've struggled. There's no denying that they're just not doing it for the Red Sox. I just think it's best to utilize players where they're most valuable. And I know that sounds weird saying that with someone like Kluber who's just struggled all season, but you just don't know what you're going to get from him out of the pen. If he can go, 3 innings and keep you in the game, and then you have Tanner Houck come in for 1 or 2 innings, okay. I think that I would rather that than Tanner Houck just continue to struggle as a starter the second and third time through that lineup. But another storyline from this game, and it just shows how out of hand this game got, was that the Red Sox decided to go to a position player in the 9th, and that position player was Pablo Reyes, who was just acquired by the Red Sox from the A's for cash considerations. He gave up a run on 2 hits. He walked 2. And at that point in the game, this was the 9th inning, it obviously didn't matter. But after the game, Cora called it the worst feeling because you don't want someone getting hurt, especially someone who's helping you fill those holes at shortstop and second base. Kike Hernandez was not in the lineup on Tuesday. He's dealing with hamstring tightness, but he is expected back for Wednesday's game. So that's a plus. But you have someone, Pablo Reyes made a fantastic play Monday night, leaping grab at short. And I thought that was just something that the Red Sox needed at that position. So you certainly don't want him getting hurt. And Cora did say that Reyes took one for the team and that the Red Sox greatly appreciated that. He was throwing like 30 miles an hour, 31, 32 miles an hour. So I'm glad he did not get hurt. And I think that's the last thing the Red Sox would need, especially somebody that they acquired to fill a void. So after Monday, you look at this bullpen, you look at this offense who just went ice cold despite having 8 hits, and you think, what the heck happened? Because they look like a different team, and they had the bases loaded late in the game. They had the opportunity to tie the game, and they just couldn't do it. And it was really frustrating to watch because I'm like, the game is still in reach here, and nothing seemed to be able to get done. So that's something that needs to change going forward. I don't know if Alex Cora tweaking the lineup night in and night out is affecting that. You have Kike Hernandez also dealing with his hamstring tightness, so he's not in the lineup. You have to kind of tweak the lineup and go from there. I don't really know what's next for this lineup. I hope it's a good turnaround. And I say this, I mentioned earlier that Nick Pivetta was doing well, and that's because before I got on to record, it was 4-0. Pivetta had his run support, and I just checked the score, and it's 4-4. Nick Pivetta gave up 4 earned runs. So I think I'm just going to stop talking about Pivetta and the bullpen and Kluber and just ride this wave, because I was just mentioning how maybe putting Pivetta in the bullpen isn't the right idea. And as soon as I'm done saying that, boom, it's 4-4. So maybe I can be a reverse jinx here, and maybe the Red Sox can put 4 more runs on the board. At least we'll have something to discuss on Wednesday's episode, right? We're going to be talking about, obviously, Pivetta's start, if Cora says anything after the game, but that is an episode for tomorrow. We still have another segment here on the Locked On Red Sox podcast. We're going to talk about Cal Raleigh, because how can you not talk about Cal Raleigh after what he did and the history he made against the Red Sox? But first, I want to tell you about Gametime. Gametime has become my favorite app to use for last-minute tickets. It's so seamless. It's so easy. and it's so stress-free. And one of the best parts about this app is they constantly have flash deals. You can get the lowest prices that I have seen on other sites, and you can see a picture of your seat. So you know exactly what the view will like. You'll know if you go to Fenway, if you're near one of those poles in the grandstands, or if you will have a nice, beautiful view of the field. You can never go wrong with bleacher seats. And you can find those all on Gametime. You can buy tickets to every kind of event too, not just sporting events. If you're trying to get tickets for Taylor Swift this weekend at Gillette Stadium, you can find them on there. If you want to go to a comedy show, improv, anything. Gametime has tickets for quite literally anything. Buy tickets in the matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone too. We can do everything on our phones, so you never have to dig through your email or go through your purse, get out those paper tickets. It's all right there, the convenience of your phone. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. The Red Sox and the Mariners could not have had more opposite nights Monday in terms of pretty much everything. But we can't talk about this game without mentioning Cal Raleigh, because he became the first catcher to hit a homer from both sides of the plate in Fenway Park's 112 years of existence. So you think about how long that is and how long the Fenway Park has been alive and been hosting games, and never a catcher, never Jason Varitek, hit a home run from both sides of the plate. So after the game, Raleigh mentioned Varitek, and he grew up idolizing Varitek, and it was one of his favorite players. And he said that he was surprised that he never did it. So to be able to do it at Fenway against the Red Sox was very cool for him. And even though it hurt the Red Sox, it was still a cool bit of history to watch, because you don't see that every day. I think Bill Miller was the last person to hit a home run from both sides of the plate for the Red Sox, but he obviously was not a catcher. So for a catcher to do this, for a catcher to make history, sure, I would have loved if the Red Sox could have done it. I would have loved if Connor Wong or Reese McGuire could have done it, or even Jason Varitek all those years ago. But it's still a really cool piece of history to talk about, and it's clearly something you don't see every day. And then there's George Kirby, who turned in his 7th consecutive quality start, limited the Red Sox to just 1 earned run, struck out 6 over 6 2/3 innings of work. And even though we did give up 8 hits, it didn't matter, because that 1 earned run says it all for the Red Sox and what the Mariners pitching was able to do to this offense, because they have had a good offense throughout the season, and they've just kind of gone cold those last 2 games. So now what? I don't know. I wish I had the answer. I wish I could sit here and say that it's this reason, it's that reason, but it goes back to the same issues that they had last year, right? That you're getting the hits, but you're not capitalizing when runners are in scoring position. You're swinging at the first pitch with the bases loaded, which you absolutely should not do when there's 2 outs. And it's just, they're playing bad baseball the last few games. And it's not, the last 2 games in particular, they played bad baseball. And it's not fun to watch, because you're just sitting there. I mean, as someone who's watching the game, you're obviously helpless, but with how many questions the Red Sox faced going into this season, and kind of almost proving doubters wrong, only to do a 180 and be like, just kidding, maybe we're going to play like this. But I had a few people comment on Monday's episode saying how the Red Sox got their hopes up, and at least they have the Celtics, though, who are getting ready for their Eastern Conference final matchup with the Heat that begins Wednesday. Make sure you check out Locked On Celtics, because they will have you covered from start to finish the rest of the way, and they're just doing a fantastic job over there, so make sure you check out them. Someone also said it's kind of like when the St. Louis Blues beat the Bruins, and that just brought up bad memories from 2019, but it is May 16th. There is still time for this Red Sox offense to just turn it around and rebound and rattle off 8 straight wins. I mean, this team is not far removed from an 8-game win streak. That's what they just need to get back to. I think it's just a matter of getting back to the basics, stop trying to do too much with what you have in front of you, and just work on contact. To get the ball in play, focus on scoring the runners, and just get back to what worked for you, because that's what made watching the Red Sox fun the last few weeks, especially when they were in the midst of that 8-game win streak. But as I'm recording, it's not looking so good for Pivetta. So maybe I'll just re-record the episode and be like, maybe we should put Nick Pivetta in the bullpen, but he does not have minor league options. So going to AAA is not an option. Of course, they could DFA him, they could try to trade him. I don't know what kind of haul you could fetch for Pivetta, if you could even call it a haul. Maybe it's cash considerations. I don't know. But the more he struggles, the more you wonder, where does he fit in this rotation? And we'll talk more about this on Wednesday's episode. And who knows what's going to come after the game, what Core is going to say, if there's going to be more talk about Pivetta going to the bullpen, because I think at this point, maybe you use him as an opener, 1 or 2 innings, because he was okay. He was okay when the game started. And like I said, I just checked while I was recording, and it all just went downhill and made me look like a fool. But that's the beauty of podcasting. That's showbiz, baby. But we have one more segment in this Locked On Red Sox podcast. As always, we're going to end the show on the Mental Health Minute. So you know that my time at NESN is coming to an end. My final day is Wednesday, and it's becoming very real to me. Today I said goodbye to some of my coworkers that I've worked with for 5 years, some that I've worked with for only a year or two, but we've had so much fun covering Boston sports for their tenure at NESN. So I mentioned in Monday's episode that I'm leaving the comfort of a job that I've known for 5 years, and I'm going into a job where I do know the people. I've been connected with the people for a few years, but it's still scary to make a jump. It's scary to make any sort of move after you've been somewhere for so long. But even though it's starting to feel real that my time at NESN is coming to an end, it's also starting to feel real that my time at Mass Live is just around the corner. And I'm so excited for this new step and this new adventure. And it's just your daily reminder to don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to bet on yourself, because sometimes betting on yourself is going to be the best thing to ever happen to you. And I'm really excited to see where this takes me. And I'm so excited to get started and hit the ground running. So just get out of that comfort zone. It can be scary, but we're brave. You're brave. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Locked On Red Sox right here on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast is where you can find us every day. Or tomorrow we will be back. We'll be talking about this Red Sox game. We'll be talking about Nick Pivetta. Maybe he's going to be the reason Tanner Houck stays in the rotation. Who knows what the Red Sox can do? I mean, I think a number of fans feel the same way about Pivetta and what they want them to do, but time will tell. And I think time is ticking for Nick Pivetta in a Red Sox uniform. My mind has changed. It's amazing what can happen in a span of 20 minutes when you're just recording a podcast. But we will be back tomorrow. Make sure you check out all the other shows across the Locked On Network. Locked On Yankees, Locked On Astros. Everyone does such a great job here, bringing you baseball content Monday through Friday. Don't forget to check out Locked On Mariners because they're having a lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow. We will be talking about this game. We can air our grievances. We can talk about what's next for Pivetta. We can talk about what's next for this bullpen, for this offense. But there's still time for the Red Sox to win this game. There's still time for the Red Sox to turn it around. It's only May, but it's getting later in the season to the point where we're going to find out all teams' identities pretty soon. But until then, we'll end the show how we always do. Keep the faith and let's go, Red Sox.